IVM.
The Vishal Gondal Show. A man who climbed Everest on one leg. A man who knows Ronnie Screwvala and every member of the Tata family. A man who has more money than any man I've ever met. Vishal Gondal. He's so rich, he has his own show. New episodes out on the IVM podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Alright, please note that the language and ideas presented on the show might not be suitable for everyone. If you're under 18, make sure your mom isn't around. If you're over 80, why is your mom around?
You're listening to Cyrus Says.
Okay, we're taking this a little further on Cyrus Says, this whole sexism issue. What is molestation or what is crossing the line? If you poke your colleague in the ribs, if you're a man and you poke a girl in the ribs with your finger while trying to make a point, is that crossing the line? I recently had a little incident in our podcast studio where one of the men used their finger to poke a girl in the ribs to explain that she wasn't paying attention. And she, of course, said, I felt intimidated and I felt maybe that, he was unclean with his touch. So here's my point. I think from now on, there will be no touching. I know untouchability is a crime against God and man, Mahatma Gandhi, but in India, we need 5 years of no touching. Nobody touches anybody. 5 years, let's get it right. Let's redress the balance. All right, it's called Cyrus Says.
And that's what Cyrus says.
Hi, Cyrus. How are you?
Hi, Jeff. I got to tell you, you have to understand the pain I go through. Mm-hmm. I'm named after Cyrus of Anshan, one of the greats of the world, let me tell you, who united 7 Iranian tribes, brought them together, and brought justice and righteousness all over the world. So I feel that is my job. Well, wherever I go, I right wrongs.
Yeah, well, I think what you just did there about
poking
and untouchability,
which is not a place in China.
No, it's not. But I mean, man, I think especially because I work in the film industry and the theater industry, and you do work with people in such close proximity. The physical thing is something you need to be aware of. And the way that I always work that way is you don't put your hands on somebody unless they know. Now that's obviously in a scene.
See, that's the thing. There's just too many gray areas. What is the relation between the two people, or what you think, or is not the relation from her side, as it happens, aka Kevin Spacey?
I think the big thing is this, man. I think that, and I think every lover in the world or husband and wife in the world understands that, you have a particular, what's the word I'm looking for here? Permission, a physical permission to touch the person you love. And I think that belongs in a particular space, and when you bring that into the workspace or any other space...
But Jeff, what happens to spontaneous gestures? I mean, the whole idea of romance is things just happen.
I think, Cyrus, I agree with you totally, and I mean, look, man, I grew up in, the 80s and 90s before political correctness became political insanity. And I have major issues with political correctness.
That's the exact point. It's gone to the other extreme where it becomes another sort of right-wing notion.
But I think there are two things afoot there. The first is that, unfortunately for you and I think generationally, we might be a little late to lunch because maybe this is what the millennials want. Maybe this is what they know, and we just have to accept that they have a different way of expressing themselves. And the second thing I would say is... there's going to be a correction. Now, the correction is obviously not going to be back to misogyny and philandering. But at the end of the day, I think that, this correction that's happening now, which is we're so sensitive, is because we're talking about something that has been going on and on and on and on and on and on for so long, and people are and have been so hurt that they need to express themselves.
But you see, in our subculture, now you're an Indian, let's face it, you have an American accent, but I have seen you not tip and all that, so you're an Indian.
There you go.
There you go. So the thing is that, in our subculture, poking, I suppose in the West may not be looked upon. I mean, that's an invasion of, if you don't know the person well enough. But here you're making a point. And it happens all the time. People poke you in the shoulder. I'm sure you've got this touch from time to time.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
And it's not sexual. It's never sexual. It's like, listen to me, brother. Listen to me. That's all it is. Never more.
Look, man, I don't know. At the end of the day, I think it's an individual thing. And it's an individual choice. And every individual has to make a decision for themselves on how they want to comport themselves and what they want to do and who they want to be and how they want to express themselves.
I think you've touched on the main point, which is we take everything to an extreme. The political correctness, as you said, from the 80s, we've gone to this other side, and we've redressed the balance and gone beyond now.
Well, I think, I'll give you an example of something that totally pissed me off.
Has it happened to you ever?
No, please.
Jeff!
Anybody listening, you can grab me anywhere you want. I won't be offended.
Goldberg. You sound like a producer from Hollywood.
That's fine.
Weinstein, Goldberg.
Well,
there you go.
No, but I'll tell you, man, one thing that, blew my mind, Beauty and the Beast. Check this out, right? I have
the musical.
No, not the musical. The movie that came out.
Yeah.
All right. So I bring my 5-year-old son to Beauty and the Beast, the movie, the live action film. And we're all excited. He's 5 years old. Woohoo, Beauty and the Beast. He doesn't know anything about it. We watched the cartoon to prime him on it. And, also having lived in France for a very long time, a little French village. And suddenly on the screen, I see a woman who I'm like, that's curious. And then I see another person. I'm like, that's curious. And then finally, when we get over to the priest, I'm like, there are people of color in this French village. African American, black people in this village. And now I'm going to sound like the biggest racist in the world, but follow me here.
In the right country again?
No, but follow me here. Yeah. Follow me here is the political correctness has gone so far that we need to put people of color in places they weren't. And in the 17th century France, the 18th century France, there were no black people.
So the authenticity goes out of the window is what you're saying.
Exactly.
And because you want to just make everybody happy, you sort of have a tokenism of...
exactly.
Where was the Indians then?
Exactly.
Where were the Chinese, the two biggest races in the world?
Even this whole Dunkirk thing. There were no Indians standing on the beach. Now, admittedly, okay, it's an oversight.
Were they or weren't they?
But they were there.
But they weren't shown in the film.
They weren't shown in the film. Yeah. But at the end of the day, look, people, and the media does bear a sense of responsibility to be authentic, and that's exactly it. The media bears a responsibility to be authentic. There were no black people in France in 17th century. And you know what?
So both ways you're saying.
Yeah. Here's the deal, is if we whitewash history because we want it to look a certain way.
Like it never happened, yeah.
We are committing as bad a crime of prejudice and racism as the people who were racist and prejudiced. And look, man, I'm not here to judge what people do. I'm just here to say, look, we're creating ideas that are fake and lies.
I agree with you.
But the thing is, people did that in the past because they were racist, because they were prejudicial. Today, we're doing it willingly because we think we're doing a right.
The patronizing tone involved, I get it totally, but I'm asking you a question here quickly before I want to talk about your life, and you won't let me because you want to pontificate about everything else in the world.
No, I'd rather pontificate about everything else in the world myself.
Jeff, tell me, so Hamlet, for example, if you look at Hamlet or productions of any big Shakespearean play in the last 20, 30 years, the whole idea is to push the races in, change the genders, this kind of thing. So there it's okay.
Well, no, look, again, when you're dealing with theater, and this is something that's very important to understand, and I think that today's generation of film watchers, which is what most people are, TV and film watchers, they don't have this understanding that theater is all about interpretation. And interpretation is something that can be adapted. And that blurs the color line, the race line, the religion line, the line of time and space. You see productions of Julius Caesar that are set
But Beauty and the Beast, which is a classic in a sense?
Okay. Beauty and the Beast, the reason I take issue with that is because if you chose to set that Beauty and the Beast in Brooklyn, New York in 1965, you should only put black people.
Okay, I get what you're saying. All right. Okay. So you change the whole thing, right, and then it all makes sense, or you don't.
Exactly. Yeah. And here's the deal. It's like if you're going to set Hamlet in the 10th century Denmark, yes, you could have a black actor do it, and it's not racist, but
his chances of becoming prince are very low. But it's lower than the play.
But it's a lie. It's a lie, and I'm not, as an artist myself, I'm not in for lies.
I think it's you're spot on. I'm with you. It's not racist. We're trying to be authentic. Now I understand.
And I think that's the problem, is that people have confused authenticity with racism.
Yeah.
And the truth is this. Look, the world was racist. The world is racist. And we have a responsibility to have a conversation about that. But it doesn't change the fact that what was.
And no white American actor, if I can say that without sounding racist, should play Amitabh Bachchan's character in Kalia, for example, because it doesn't make sense. You've got to get the right guy for the right role.
Absolutely.
Why does it have to be racist? I don't understand that. You're just trying to portray somebody from somewhere.
I'll share something with you. This new film that's come out with Ali Fazal in it. I was thrilled to see that they chose him, this Victorian.
Abdul.
Right. I was thrilled that they chose to see him because I'm so tired of watching Western films about brown people with westernized brown people.
Yeah.
There are so many great actors here. Choose somebody here.
Slightly darker-hued white guy playing the brown guy it's a stretch after some time.
Or zero disrespect to this actor that's in Lion. I forget his name off the top of my head. Dev Patel. He's great, but Dev, you're not Indian, homie. And in the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, you don't come across like a boy from Delhi.
Except for the color. Yeah.
Exactly. And now as an actor, can you achieve that? Of course you can. But you can't just be like, I'm brown, so I'm in.
We have 40,000 Delhi actors here, which you can choose from.
You have 40,000 Delhi actors.
You just won the Union Star of the Year for India.
No, man. There's so many talented people here, and I don't understand why the West continues to propagate this.
It's called influence, Jeff.
All right.
It's all about influence.
Sorry.
Okay, let's talk about you. I forgot to mention, because because you just started talking and you've hijacked the show.
You told me to start talking.
No, it's about your life, and we just try to introduce the person, especially interesting people.
Okay.
And we find you very interesting.
I wouldn't go that far. But
yeah, please, it's not a
thoughtful.
sexual statement. I'm across a desk here.
Yes, we are.
Be prepared for anything.
That's what we've got.
Right.
We've got microphones in our way.
Jeff Goldberg, actor and director, for more than a decade, and this is what Google has to tell us. Obviously, we don't research anymore. Press a button, there it is.
There, well done.
Jeff has been teaching acting, script writing, directing some of the finest acting and film schools all over the world. He's done short films and gone to film festivals, as well as features in Paris, London, Los Angeles, and Busan. But still to go to Syria. As an inherent writer, director, actor, recording artist, and producer, Jeff lives every moment with an extreme kind of passion, blah, blah, blue, blue. And on stage, his shows continue to play to sold-out audiences. And here's the big question, Jeff. We need to go back in time and find out who you are.
Okay.
All right, where did you come from and how did you land here? We understand that you're an artist. That's very clear.
Thank you. How the hell did I get here? That's a good question. Every morning I wake
Can we
up...
rewind to back in the States where you...
Yeah, sure. Question, I
When
think...
Democrats ruled the Senate and
right.
the House of Congress.
And the world was still politically incorrect.
Yeah.
No, I'm originally from New York, in the suburbs of the New York City area. And I grew up there. I went to a university in Boston. I went to Boston University where I studied film and television and history, incidentally.
Note to self,
Right.
Rich background, Boston University, didn't
there you
struggle.
Go, right. There you go. Well, you'd be surprised. They're still paying those college loans, pal. So after I finished my university years, I was sort of faced with the choice that every young filmmaker or writer, director, an actor is faced with, which is to be or not to be in L.A., in Los Angeles.
Nicely put.
Yeah, and one day when I was driving between on the Sunset Boulevard between the Beverly Hills Hotel and the Strip itself, it just hit me. I don't want to be here. I don't want
Why?
to. I just didn't want to.
You grew up in all the history of that whole area and all those people before the culture.
I just didn't want to be in Hollywood.
You sold out on America.
I did.
Give me your green card.
You can have it. You got my passport. No, when I was 22, I made this really wacky decision, which was to move to France and just sort of discover
Can you speak French?
And not a word. Not a word.
Jeff,
Not a
you're
word.
amazing.
Oh, I don't know about that. But I didn't know anybody and I didn't know anything.
I went for my honeymoon to France and she left me in 3 days because we just couldn't get around. We all speak French and we speak in English, but really unfriendly.
Yeah, they can be.
Okay. So before we go to France, let's just understand. So you studied acting.
Mm-hmm. I know. I studied. Actually, I'm much more. I mean, I think every artist approaches their craft from one avenue, and I approach mine mostly through writing. To be very truthful, directing was an outgrowth of that. Acting came later.
So what did you study in Boston?
I studied film direction and screenwriting.
Which involved everything. Screenwriting separately.
I mean, yeah, I would say that my 20s were most. As a matter of fact, the reason I wound up in India was screenwriting. So yeah, so screenwriting is what I've done the longest. Directing and acting were just kind of on the heels of that.
So you had this moment, you're driving and suddenly you said, I don't want this world?
Yeah, I just didn't want it, man.
Had you made anything?
No, I was still a young guy. I was still really...
You're still a young guy, Jeff.
Well, no, not the gray hair reveals the truth. I was traveling and it just dawned on me, I didn't want to live in L.A. I don't know what it was.
Was it a girl?
No, I was unattached.
Did you follow a girl or did you leave a girl?
Nothing, man. I wish it was more romantic than that. But truth be told, I just, decided I didn't want to do the Hollywood shuffle.
Was it because of the relaxed cannabis laws?
Maybe. They weren't quite relaxed yet.
What's that French accent? I hear lots of people just dig that French accent.
Yeah, I could do that if you want. But,
can you try that for some time?
What would you like me to say?
Just sexual things?
Hola.
Call me Kevin?
Kevin, ça va toi? So I moved over to France and I spent 10 years there. I picked up the language, obviously.
As a single guy, you just went there with a bag and you started.
That's it.
What was your plan? You just thought it'll come to you as you get there?
Kind of, yeah.
So it's improv, really.
Yeah, it was really improvisational.
So what was your first job? And please don't tell me French McDonald's.
Bartender, man. Bartender.
Yeah?
Bartender, yeah.
Paid the bills for some time.
I paid the bills for a time. I wouldn't say too much of it, but it covered the bills. It was good. It was a great way to ingratiate myself to France because I was surrounded by French people.
And you should deal with them all the time.
Yeah, and I had to. It was like sink or swim with the language.
Do they tip?
Not really. No, but we worked it out such that it was a bar and this was pre everything digital, so this was a lot of cash and we would just offer.
So is it true what they say about being a bartender, that you're like the therapist and the guy everybody turns to and they would start talking to you for everything?
I worked at a bar that opened at midnight, so it wasn't.
What are you saying?
Yeah, it opened at midnight.
Is it like a yoga bar?
No, not at all, man. It was a bar where in the area I was working in, which is called Le 5e arrondissement, the 5th north quarter of Paris, the Latin quarter, all the other bars would let out at 12 to 1. So everyone needed a place to go and drink. And what the other bartenders used to do would steer everybody to us. And we would be open till 5. So from 12 to 5.
So your day began at midnight.
Yeah.
This is like that fairy tale.
I don't know about it. It was turned into a nightmare a few times. But yeah.
Did you turn into a pumpkin? No.
I certainly didn't do a pumpkin. No.
All right, let's fast forward a little bit. So you're in Paris, you're doing this to survive, but you're a creative person. So how do you, what's your next step?
I just started to get involved. I started with the film school level, just kind of getting involved with film school work, because I was still very young myself, and was working with the school and just kind of put together a film that I did, a feature film that I did.
So this was your first film?
That was my first film, yeah. I mean, and it was a feature film. It's a completed hour and 30, 25-minute picture, but I wouldn't really call it like a proper film. I'd call it like a first try, you know. I was really young. I was about 23, insanely stupid and ambitious, and,
Were there erotic scenes in it?
Many.
Then I will watch it.
Yes,
I will watch it
yes.
because I just believe in the art and medium.
Yeah, no. It's hardcore XXX. No.
Oh, yes! I mean, no, I didn't mean it that way.
No.
Oh, yes.
No,
how liberal is France?
Yeah, vive la France.
Oh, viva.
No, actually, it's not. But, no, and then fast forward to, I was in France. I was working at a film school in France where I was now teaching, running a program. Things were going really well. I was starting to develop more feature film projects. I started working with a French-Indian filmmaker, actually.
Who is that?
Pan Nalin. He made the film Angry and Indian Goddesses, Samsara, Valley of Flowers.
You can tell that all the people in the studio know about the films except me. They're all nodding around us. Priyanka, the lovely girl there, is going berserk.
Yeah, I'm actually in Angry Indian Goddesses.
In front of camera?
Yeah, as an actor. But I wrote 2 projects. I've worked on 2 projects with Nalin, neither of which have been made yet.
That's the Indian part of the Indian-French connection.
No, not at all. Not at all. As a matter of fact, if anyone's listening that likes the film work of Pan Nalin, I can say without reservation he's the most talented filmmaker I know and the hardest working guy in town, and a very dear friend. But in the course of our work, he invited me down to India to start taking a look at some stuff for our work.
Okay, Jeff, stop right there for a second because we need to take a break, and now we enter India after the break.
Sure, no problem.
Tired of the shrill madness of primetime television?
Can't make sense of your morning newspaper anymore?
Then take a break to delve into some real conversations about policy, politics and economics.
Join me, Pavan Srinath,
And me, Hamsini Hariharan,
as we analyze news and views from India and the world and talk to experts on a wide range of issues on the Pragati podcast.
Episodes out every fortnight.
You can find us on the IBM Podcasts app or wherever else you get your podcasts from.
All right, back after the break. A long 1.5 hours spent strolling on the streets of Khar. But Jeff Goldberg now reaches India, and this is where the story turns. Generally, we blame the travel agent. Or, it was an acting job which went wrong. But you came here by choice, and what was the reason?
No, what happened was in 2006, I came down here to write a film with Pan Nalin, like I mentioned. And
Pen is his first name.
His real name is Nalin Pandya, but he goes by Pan Nalin. So his real name is Nalin. Nalin is his real name. Sorry, Nalin, if you didn't want people to know that.
Sounds like a new vegetable, as far as I'm concerned. And we have the green Nalin. Yeah, go on.
Anyway, so we wound up working down here, and from the first day I met India, she and I fell in love.
Did you?
Yeah, I don't know why, but there was just something about
something New York about us.
No.
People were rude.
There was something really. I mean, coming from the West, and if you don't know enough or anything about India, you of course know it's a big place, there's a lot going on, but you also have this sense of like it's very spiritual, it's very ancient, and then you sort of arrive here and you see some of that, but you also see its chaos.
But do we have a smell? You see, a lot of foreigners tell me they get this terrible smell when they come in, and I'm sure, we don't get it.
I know.
It's like I can't smell dogs because I'm raised with dogs, so I don't get a dog smell, but other people get it.
I think I'm immune to it maybe now, but perhaps there was an odor once upon a time.
There you go. He suffered, ladies and gentlemen. This artist suffered. Before he made his feature in India, he had to hold his nose for about 4.5 years.
No, not quite that bad. No, so I came here in 2006, and I really liked it. Rotated back to France for several more years. And then in 2009, there were a lot of shifts in my life and my personal life. And I just decided to pack my bags and make a move. And I was kind of looking at the globe, and I'm just kind of, as evidenced by what I did when I was much younger, I just decided to Move to India.
So you're one traveling Wilbury. Now my worry is that you'll never ever stop. So after a couple of years, you'll be like, I've had enough of this. Let's go to wherever.
No. I've dug a hole and planted a few roots here in India, in Mumbai. I have.
The only way you can do that, the Indian way, is you bring relatives from America here. Many of them, like 100.
Well,
and you live in one 4-bedroom or 3-bedroom flat with 200 relatives.
That hasn't happened quite yet.
It'll happen soon.
But I do have a son, a little baby, who I adore to death.
Who now hates Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah,
because the references were all wrong.
Yeah, well, blame his father for that.
Ugly duckling. It's not a duck. It's a fox.
That's right. Huh. We're always fighting for the truth in my house. So I have a 5-year-old little boy who's here, and my studio. I run an acting studio. Where I train method acting. Just actually, literally, I walked here. You know, my studio is right over by Menchie's. If you guys know where Menchie's is. Yeah. So we run an.
So do you train any actors that we know?
I've trained a few people whose names you probably have heard of. Yeah. The one I'm most proud of is not that I don't love all of you, but the one I'm most proud of is Prakash Jha. I worked with Prakash.
The director?
The director, yeah. If you saw his most recent film, Jai Gangajal, he acts in it as the sort of corrupt cop. And, that was just a wonderful experience because, here's this man who's so established, so talented, and a real senior figure.
But had the humility to come in.
Not only the humility, but almost the boyish charm.
Was it free? And the first time the American pauses. Because with the capitalists, I tell you, they're always about the money.
Prakash, I love you too much to talk about the money, babe.
All right.
And so Prakash, I worked with. I did a tiny bit of work with Bobby Deol. Just very small, like just a day or two. And that was funny. He was a very cool guy, actually.
Lovely guy.
Cool guy, man. It was really funny, because I guess he's not used to people not knowing who he is. I'll tell you a funny story. I was in the washroom of my studio. And I came out, and there was this guy with long hair and a beard, because I guess that's what he had at the time, kind of looking around like, where am I in the right place? And he said, are you Jeff? And I said, I am. And I said, you are.
He's the only white guy in the whole place. Not to be racist. That's a pretty educated guess, yeah.
He's like, you're Jeff. And I'm like, yeah, and you are? And he kind of looked at me like, you don't know who I am? I'm like, no idea, bro.
Your mutt.
He's like Bobby. And I was like, oh, cool. And he was such a down-to-earth guy, man. Really liked Bobby a lot.
Get into my story. So we did an interview with him where he basically, I was in pain. I had hemorrhoids. I got to tell the truth. And I'm the kind of guy I always tell the truth when it comes to health.
Hey, why not?
ED, huge issue. Just kidding. Yeah, coming back to that. So I told him, so the guy sent for somebody and they came back with creams which I couldn't pronounce. I was really, just...
super guy.
You're talking about a very awkward area of your body, but he had people send me, these creams immediately. Within 1 hour, everything was there.
Yeah, he's a super
guy. Of
guy.
course, he didn't apply it because that would make him really super.
Clearly. Yeah. But other people, I worked a lot. As a matter of fact, I worked a tremendous amount with, for about 18 months, Pratik Babur. And I know Pratik and I worked on a play together. We've done quite a bit of work together, Pratik and I. And I'm very, very happy because he's really making some forays back into the industry right now. Because, he had a bit of a skid there for a time. So I've worked with people like that.
But no girls?
Among the girls, I'm trying to think.
Without poking?
Zero poking.
Thank you.
Among the more senior actresses that are out there today, no, I haven't really done much work with them.
So let's just tell them, in view of the fact that there are less girls in the acting studio with you, there will be a certain rate and concession that will be applied.
No, actually, I'll tell you something really funny, man, which is when I came back here from New York, where I was working before I came to create the studio, I came with you have to have scenes like that your actors can do for scene work. And I came with obviously, I thought obviously an imbalance of more female-centric scenes, like girl, friends, just female-centric scenes, because in the West, acting studios...
70-30, yeah.
Yeah. Here, it's the other way around. I have classes, and if I have 2 girls in a class, 3 girls in a class, it's like a party.
Girls, where are you? What are you doing? Come back.
Absolutely, man.
All right. Jeff, we're running out of time. I'm sorry to hurry you, but I want to get some stuff out of you because you're like an Indian now. All right. So as an Indian, I'm going to ask you, just give me your thoughts.
Sure.
We celebrate November 8th will be 1 year of demonetization. One of the great things of modern India. And what are your thoughts as both a neutral observer and as a person who pays taxes and everything else now?
Well, I've been very vocal about that in my private sphere. And I'll say to you what I said to the person who told me about demonetization on November 8th, which very simply was this. if every great economist in the world comes out and says that this is a good idea, I'm going to buy it. But my instinct is that it's not. And I have very closely paid attention to Larry Summers, Paul Krugman, Manmohan Singh, Kaushik Basu.
You make him sound like a wrestler, though.
Okay.
Manmohan.
True. You know, and all of these guys are, you know, IMF.
Absolutely anti.
You know, they're the best. And, you know, Steve Forbes. And I mean, unanimously, every single one of them have called this from grand larceny
that's the nicest thing they've said. Yeah.
To the single most enormous blunder. And it does, I mean, you know, it just... And I ask this to the government with my hands put together in the most kind way. What were you thinking? Like, what did you honestly think that this was going to work? And what were you thinking? And now when we look at the statistics coming out of the RBI, which is 99% of the black currency.
It's right there.
So there was no black money.
What does that mean?
What it means is that it was a giant failure. And what I would, and this is what I understand about Indian politicians, all right, is if I was Narendra Modi's handler, if I was his advisor, I would tell him, go out there and say, we up.
And we're changing this.
And we're sorry.
Bring back the old notes.
And we're sorry. And we're going to do better. Because here's the deal. If you continue to lie about something that everybody can see, you make yourself as archaic and foolish as the previous government.
But it's also an ego thing, right? Because saying sorry is a huge thing now. As a statesman, you're like, no, give it time, then we'll see what happens.
But the thing is, you know, that's the thing. In our modern age, we don't have statesmen who say they're sorry anymore. President Harry...
Well, unless they have interns and things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
But like President Harry Truman, who's supposedly not the most intelligent of American presidents, right? He was known to be a little bit lesser than, say, like a Franklin Roosevelt, a John Kennedy, a Dwight Eisenhower. But he said something that's, I think, the greatest advice you can give any leader. The buck stops here. I go down with the ship. And, I mean, look, I'm not saying that the experiment wasn't worthy of trying, but it failed. It failed. We did it. It's done. Everyone hurt. We all had a lot of pain. But admit that it was a mess up.
And yes, Jeff charges in cash as well now, so you can see it's all out there.
I mean, I don't charge in cash because, you know, I'm too scared. You know, like when you download things, and like, right? Even in India, I'm just like, dude, they're going to catch anyone. They're going to catch me. I'm
odd one out.
I'm convinced that
Subramaniam Singh Shah and there's like Goldberg. Let's get him.
Exactly.
Yeah. Jeff. Let's quickly talk about the other guy out there across the Atlantic, the gentleman who's making waves.
He's my favorite person.
Explain that to us. I know comedians have torn into him, and you know there's not much to do. But what happened to America in a sense that we look at all the presidents, as you've just mentioned, a lot of them, and nobody appeared to be stupid and obnoxious. You know, I'm just trying to top of my head. I mean, I've met Bill Clinton, actually interacted with him, and
very charming,
very
fellow.
Charismatic man, and super intelligent. Immediately spoke about India and Indian politicians specifically with names to show he knows his research and to give you respect.
Absolutely,
it may have been political, it may have been Machiavellian in a sense, but you know, at the end of the day, you come back feeling a little charmed because this really powerful man has shown you respect and your people. This guy is something else. Oh, no, he's like me in the classroom. You know, he just says anything.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, I don't know you well enough, Cyrus, but I like you a lot more than I do him. No, I mean, the only thing I would say about Donald Trump is this, man. Donald Trump is a realization of September 12th, 2001. And nobody wants to talk about that. Everybody wants
What does that mean?
Well, I'll explain. Everybody wants to talk about September 11th, 2001 and what that meant. But nobody wants to talk about what happened the day after. And the day after, America woke up and after it rubbed its eyes and sort of got over the shock of what happened.
It went right wing.
It just got angry. It just got angry. And what we're seeing today is a realization of that anger. Now, some would say, but what was Barack Obama? Well, look.
Exactly. That's 8 years.
Okay, but let's look at Barack Obama. And I have great respect for the politician that is Barack Obama. But if you look at Barack Obama, he did not stop. As a matter of fact, he increased the drone attacks.
That's true.
You know,
he's been the most violent president in recent history.
So to sit there and say that Barack Obama was a peacenik would be a falsehood. And the reality is that Donald Trump is a realization of the polarized nature of the politics, the political correctness in America.
Post-2001.
Yeah. And the truth of the matter is that he is a representation of what America has become. And Americans don't want to admit that. And the other thing that Americans don't want to admit, particularly people on the coasts, is that the people in the middle actually count for something. They actually count for something. And that's where
you got the votes.
And that's where he won. And I believe, and I think the single most important thing to look at in 2000, 2001, 21st century American history is, of course, 9/11. But the second most important thing is the crisis, the financial crisis. And the anger.
2008, yeah.
And, you know, in New York and in L.A., the way that people who were crushed by the financial crisis expressed that was the Occupy Wall Street movement, right? But the middle of the country, they occupied the White House, and they gave us Donald Trump. They occupied
But you would blame George Bush Jr. for that? Going into the Barack Obama years?
Look, I mean...
As the buck stops here, you said yourself?
No, I mean, look, you know, I think W...
did what he could.
No, I think W was a horrible president. And I marched against him. I protested against him. You know, you're asking me really specific questions. I thought he was a moron. But... you know, I think the person that really deserves a special seat in hell is Dick Cheney, his former vice president. And the person who deserves to be lieutenant to the devil himself is Donald Rumsfeld. Condoleezza Rice can join George Bush with a seat in hell. But, I mean, you know, people don't realize to what degree they manipulated the system to destroy the system. And what we see in America today is a country that makes no sense. I mean, and I say this as an American, you know, and I was born and raised there, and I know it's not them that's changed, it's me. I changed. But I look at how they live, and I'm like, there was a time when people, I mean, for instance, this is the moment I knew America changed. In 2004, when the election was coming around, George Bush was out there, we're going to find terrorists and kill them. That's what we're going to do. And I'm like, okay, great. He's going to go kill the terrorists. And then there was John Kerry, a Democratic senator from the most democratic of states of Massachusetts, who himself was a soldier, fought in Vietnam, who himself was a decorated, injured soldier who fought in Vietnam. And, you know, if anybody knows about war...
Should be him?
Right. He got up there and said, we will find the terrorists and kill them. And that's when I threw my hand up and I said, since when did it become okay to say, I'll kill someone?
Yeah.
Like, when did that become... Yeah, when did that become okay?
It's rhetoric which you don't want.
Yeah, like, I mean, come on, man. Like, okay, you can say that off mic.
But it's happening in India as well.
Right. But the
aggressive, you know, what's it, chest thumping and alpha male, you know, sort of behavior.
What is the point of a court of law? What is the point of international law?
What is the decorum and dignity that goes to being a statesman?
Exactly.
What happened to humor? Nobody uses humor anymore.
I mean, if you want to say something that will kill them, or you want to put the point in, you can say, like, we will find the terrorists, arrest them, and prosecute them with extreme prejudice. Fine. But you're not allowed to say that, because you know what?
So what's next? We'll kill them, bang, bang.
No, what's going to happen next is it's just going to become a deeper and deeper and deeper and more confusing shitstorm.
But do you feel America is unpopular now across the world because of this in the last few years? As say of early years in France as against now, being an American tourist, say?
No, you know, what I would say is that America... There are two things that have happened to America. One with its international image and one with its own image of itself, is that as the rest of the world has shifted in its thinking about America, it's kind of like a boyfriend who just gets more and more drunk and starts to yell, look at me, we're the greatest. We're the greatest. And it's just yelling louder and louder and louder, and people are listening less and less. And the final thing I'll say is this, is just look at that rhetoric. We're the greatest country in the world. Cut to, hang on a second. As an Indian, aren't you offended by that? Because that means that you're not the greatest. It means that you're second or third.
I don't mind the chest thumping. I don't like the bloody responses. I find that a little infantile and unnecessary.
Yeah.
You know, like, as you wisely put. I mean, the guy's the president of America. He wants to take revenge for whatever reasons. And yes, they are terrorists and they're evil people. There's no question about that.
No one's saying
But we
that.
can't talk like them, because once we do that, there's not much difference.
And exactly right. And the thing is, you know, I mean, and I mean, I don't know, you know, I'm sure you have children in your family, but you have your own children. You know, I mean, look, man, I mean, you know, my 5-year-old son flicks on the TV and a guy in a nice suit with the American flag behind him says, we're going to kill someone. I have to explain to him that that's not acceptable.
And that's not a movie. It's real.
Yeah, and that's not acceptable. You don't talk that way about someone. Because imagine in your own house if someone said, I'm going to kill that bastard, and meant it.
Oops. Okay, so you know about my family, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
But you know what I mean, man?
Yeah.
Like, it's just really wrong.
All right, Jeff, we've gone from one point to the other. We're trying to talk about your life, but I think we spoke more about everything else. I wanted to ask you about Harvey Weinstein and everything in between, but we've run out of time. Very quickly, lots of scandals coming out from Bill Cosby, an iconic guy who I loved growing up.
So
and
did
then Harvey Weinstein, who's, you know, one of the biggest names in the business, whether you know him or not, for outsiders, that is. And now Kevin Spacey, arguably one of the finest actors in the world.
Well, look, man, just because you're talented, just because you're rich, and just because you're famous doesn't mean you're not an asshole. I've met plenty.
But is it a male thing? Like,
no,
50% of us are just primed to behave badly and then they become famous?
I think first of all, I think fame is just an absolute. It's a narcotic.
Aphrodisiac.
Yeah, it's a narcotic that most people don't know how to deal with. I would say all people don't know how to deal with. And the final thing I'll say about the whole scandals is MeToo. And what I mean by that is I've never had the displeasure of experiencing sexual harassment in any way, shape, form, or other. But Me Too, and I think what that means is that we all have to take a big, deep breath and say, Me Too, and say, hey, listen, man, this is just wrong. And pointing the finger at this one, that one, and naysaying it's just not going to help.
Me Too is a typical Punjabi name of a girl. You can't say that. They'll think you're harassing her.
Maybe.
You've got to be careful. Cultures are different.
But even here in India, you have these stories coming about different producers, different.
Oh, I think it's much worse in India. It's just hidden.
Well, no, I think in India the problem also is that, a friend of mine, a very, very smart friend of mine said something to me once. She said, a lot of these guys who get called on the carpet for sexual harassment here, they don't even know that they're doing it. Because, they don't know how to treat a woman because they've never spent, they go to a boys' school.
So they think it's normal.
Yeah, they don't know. They think they're just bad flirts. They're just bad flirts.
They just don't have a game and they think this is it.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's actually what he said, bad flirts. And I was like, well, that makes a lot of sense, actually. But look, at the end
you need to start another school next to your main school. Improv and how to deal with ladies.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But no, man, at the end of the day, I think, look, we all are responsible for this because Harvey Weinstein did it. Kevin Spacey may have done it. That's still the jury's still out.
What the fear for me, and it's not an American thing, it's a global thing, sexual exploitation, is that there's a boys' club that covers it. Like his brother,
exactly.
Harvey Weinstein's brother. They wouldn't do that, but they cover it. You see, and when you think of big names like Matt Damon and all going out of their way to tell a guy not to publish a story, then you're thinking, what the hell? Why are they protecting him? If they know the guy's an asshole and he's doing it repeatedly, why would you protect him? I understand if it's your brother, okay, there's something there, but beyond a point, you're like, why didn't you stop the guy?
Well, I mean, look, man, I can't speak for people's intentions and what they do. That would be a really bad idea if I tried to say that. But I mean, look, self-interest is always what prevails. Self-interest is what prevails, and we can sit there and judge the Matt Damons.
Or is it that deep down as men we don't think it's the worst crime in the world also, hence as against something else?
Well, I mean, look, Hollywood, my only gripe with Hollywood is they've really proven themselves moronic on this one because they sat there jumping up and down about the Billy Bush tape with Donald Trump and grab him by the blank,
all that, yeah,
and cut to now that the truth of their pandering and philandering and madness has come out, it just makes them look stupid. And I think at the end of the day, every individual man and woman should be asking themselves, how do I treat people, and can I be better at that? And the thing is I know it sounds like a really small thing. We sit here and talk about these topics, right? We all pick up the paper, and we all try to figure out the world. Look, if in your own life you're a good guy, a good woman, if in your own life you're kind, if in your own life you say please and thank you, and everybody started to do that, the world might actually, I know this sounds so naive.
Oh, it sounds like a Miss India speech, but I'll take it.
But it might become a little bit of a better place, man. Because the fact of the matter is everyone's f***ing up, and it's f***ing boring. It's just boring. Friends, I'll give you something, man. Like, where I come from in the West, someone's crossing the street, the car.
You stop.
Yes.
Right of way, always pedestrian.
But here, when I do that with my car, you should see the look on people's faces.
Yeah, but the irony is when we travel there, we follow the rules happily.
Yeah, you're very good.
We're not going to honk there. I've driven a car there. I've never touched the horn.
Listen, man, my favorite people on earth, and I mean this in the West and in this country.
Koreans.
Absolutely. No, man, I love Indians. I mean, I wouldn't live here if I didn't. My son is half Indian. I mean, you're not going to find a culture more fascinating than your own.
The other half Indian is Rahul Gandhi.
Yeah.
We'll discuss him the next time.
Yeah, we'll need a while for that one.
All right, listen, Jeff, sorry we've run out of time.
No problem,
I have to cut you short, but you're great fun. Got a lot out of you. Hope to get you back again so we can talk some more.
Man.
So many other topics we want to discuss and can blame you for the views that I have myself.
Sure, not a problem. I'm right down the street, so you can blame me anytime.
Let's quickly plug your acting workshop.
Sure.
School?
We run a studio. It's called the Jeff Goldberg Studio. It's based in Bandra/Carr. We offer a 9-month program in method acting. It's broken up into 3 separate sections, each section being 3 months long. And it's to train you in the craft and art of method acting. On top of that, the studio functions as a theater where we run stand-up comedy, where we have plays, both comedic and dramatic plays. And if you're interested in what we do, check out our webpage, Jeff Goldberg Studio, which is www.jgstudio.in, or our Facebook page. Everything's up there. We'd love to meet more of you people. Our doors are always open, and we could talk about whatever, whenever, man.
And the capacity?
I mean, as far as the theater, we could fit about 70 to 100, depending on how we set up the stage and how we deal with the seating. And then in terms of our batch sizes vary, but we keep them relatively small because the craft of method acting is something that's very fine, and you need to make sure that you have a realistic number of people in there. So we never really go much beyond 10, 12 people, because at that point, with 1 or 2 teachers in the classroom, it starts to become dishonest. We're not. We, of course, are for-profit business, but at the end of the day, I mean, look, if I wanted to be rich, being a filmmaker, being a director, being a writer was definitely not the best choice. And it's not about money. It's about art. It's about creation. It's about sharing.
And parking, which is available in car at the right time. Jeff, thank you so much.
You're
and
welcome.
As we say bye, I just want to say I find you highly attractive.
Thank you.
And would you sit on my lap?
I'm coming over right now. Let's move the table.
There you go. EMA is coming up.
Hi, I'm Amit Verma, the host of the weekly podcast, The Seen and the Unseen. In my show, I examine the seen effects and the unintended consequences of public policy and private action. I show how policies meant to help the poor often end up hurting the poor. I've done episodes so far on demonetization, GST, surgical strikes, immigration and MRP. And I will continue my forensic assault on the truth in the weeks to come.
Catch the show every Monday on the IVM Podcast app or any other podcasting app that you prefer. Or visit seenunseen.in for all the latest updates.
If you have any questions for Cyrus, write to us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Or you can send an email to whatcyrussays@gmail.com.
All right, that was Jeff Goldberg with the EMAs are with Charanya and Amit, who are arguably the greatest people of India.
The greatest AMA questioners in the world?
World famous.
There you go.
3-time World Series winners.
3-time World Series of the AMA.
By the way, too many people kneeling in American sport, bro.
Well, dude, I mean, they should.
Oh, they should.
They
Who's
should.
kneeling here? We've got our problems. Where's the symbolic gesture here? We make you stand up for the national anthem. It's still in the Supreme Court. What's happening there?
Well, we should not be mandated.
I mean, what do you do? I want to know what you do when they play the anthem.
I stand because, see, I mean, so this is the way
Out of
I see
fear.
it. No, not out of fear. Basically, the way I see it is nobody should mandate me to stand, but if somebody is playing a national anthem, I'm going to stand. I don't care what country it is. I'm just going to stand.
Even if it's like the Japanese anthem?
Yeah, I'll
and you don't
stand.
know.
If I'm somewhere where they're playing the Japanese anthem
But
for
are you doing
whatever
it out of
reason.
respect,
I'm
or are
doing
you
it out of
doing it
respect
out
for
of...
it, but I don't
Classical
like being
conditioning.
You have to.
Classical conditioning.
Yeah, no, I don't like being
Can I
compelled.
tell you, when I watch football matches or cricket matches and they play anthems, I don't stand. I got to tell the truth.
In the stadium or at home?
No, at home.
At home.
At
Who
home.
stands?
But why?
Who stands
That's
at home?
hypocrisy. If I stand for the anthem, I stand for the
Lazy.
anthem at home
No,
also.
you stand
I
it.
remember the Bombay Gym once. I was working out at 7:30 in the morning. They played the anthem on 26 Jan, really loudly. And everybody came and said, come on, you have to stand. So now even there, I had to stand. You know, I was sweating like an animal and sitting in the middle of...
I think public versus private matters in that, right? I mean, like
If you're at home, nobody can tell
Yeah.
you to stand.
My whole world is private, from start to finish.
Fair enough. No, I think that
Listen,
I hate
guys,
mandating, right?
we are 21st century people. We have to stop all this
Yeah,
whole medieval
no.
stuff here.
So,
Stop all
okay,
this.
so-
How do you prove your patriotism like this? Go and fight in the army and, prove your
Yeah,
patriotism.
did you
It's
guys see
simple.
Gautam Gambhir talk about how you can stand in the
Oh,
club
I'll
outside for
smack him,
20
man.
minutes, but you can't stand for 52 seconds for anthem?
He
I'm
got
not.
smacked down
Nobody's
by like pretty
making me
much
stand.
everybody, right? I mean, I don't think that I've ever seen so many blue ticks saying that you're an idiot.
Nothing scares me
Generally,
more.
blue ticks are very
Nothing
diplomatic.
scares me more than jingoism. I think as Indians we have an emotional DNA problem where sometimes we
not
forget to
Indian.
think with our brain.
It's not
okay,
Indian.
I don't think-
worldwide,
yeah.
and we think with
We're
our
tribal.
emotions. And when you think with your emotions, this is how you say throw North Indians out of Maharashtra. It's a stupid comment.
Yeah.
It's just stupid.
Yeah.
But it becomes emotional.
Yeah.
They've taken what rubbish. Without all the migrants, we'd have nothing in this city. I mean, just stop it. Stop thinking like a fool.
No, I like the movie theater thing is ridiculous, right? I mean, like the fact that you are before a piece of entertainment, you're saying that I have to stand up is insane.
Amit, I'm saying
Yeah.
that after a long day, I've said this 100 times, after a long day, let's say you work from 7 in the morning, what the hell you do?
Yeah.
You go for a film at 11 in the night.
Yeah.
You sit there with your girlfriend or wife or whatever, your friends, and then they play the anthem.
Why is that the time to test my patriotism? I don't
Why?
understand. Yeah.
My legs
It
are
makes-
paining. I'm cramping.
Yeah.
I came to watch a movie. Like, I don't get it. Why are you testing if I'm Indian enough
And
now?
and let's understand what we've gone through. We've got the popcorn. We've adjusted the position so our arms don't have to move much. We've got the drink in the right place. This comfort has happened.
Yeah.
I got to
Just
rejig
that
it.
yeah.
I don't want to rejig it because once I get out, I got to rejig everything. Think about us. Think about the people.
I'm all about the freedom, man. All right. People in their 30s and 40s behave like 15-year-olds on Facebook and Instagram. Is that midlife crisis or a false sense of their own importance? This is from Lavanya, who's become one of our new regulars. Huh? She's been sending questions.
Hi, Lavanya. Lavanya and Lavanya are two different names. I had both in my class. Lavanya Jaggi and Lavanya Subramaniam. So I had both. So I know. They very well taught us. You dare say their name wrong. You get the wrong Lavanya. I never make a mistake. I'm one of those guys who go to hell, but I'll never even say, do you know who this is? Yes, Lavanya. Yes. My whole thing about Facebook is that most, and I'm talking about my peers, I'm 46 now, is that they tend to become very pedagogic and very priest-like and very philosophical and very strange. The same people you've met and been with all your life, and suddenly they talk from a pedestal, like, God speaking. I feel this is no way to treat someone as big as...
Why? Fair enough. Yeah, you're right.
So I feel that happens from my generation more, but what you're talking about in this letter is the people who are trying to flirt, I think. Where they tend to start, as he mentioned before, they have no game. Okay. So they have no strategy and they come across as infants. With their stupid flirting. Okay. I can't get over this friend of mine telling me that outside her school in South Bombay, this father who never speaks to her, only the wife speaks to her, but the father came up and said, can I tag you on Facebook? Just out of the blue. Every time they stand there, he never says a word. He's shy and whatever. But after 5 times, he said, okay, nice figure, whatever in his mind. And can I tag you? So this Facebook is, for me, is now almost becoming evil, and I don't know what to do with it.
Well, it's how you use it, right? I mean, there are people who use it in scuzzy ways.
Facebook is evil.
Okay, sure it is.
Oh, I'm kidding.
No,
your take.
No, I mean, I think it depends on how you use it, right? I mean, I find it
true.
I think it is true. I mean, I think the amount of selfies and party pictures and stuff like that.
That is silly,
yeah. It really is. It's that thing where you're...
Sharma's at a picnic.
No.
Sharma's at lunch.
Exactly.
I don't really have a problem
eating samosa. Who cares?
I'm like, it's lame, but how does it matter to me? Like, the uncles are putting up their photo, it's okay. I feel like they connect with their friends about, like, look, I went to this thing with my
40s,
family.
Please let's not call them uncles.
I'm sorry. What are we supposed to call? Isn't that the question? Midlife crisis?
Actually, now when you think of it, I like her thinking. I think we are being a bit fascist. It's no biggie. They just diary-fying their life and we should just leave it. Yeah.
It's fine. I think it's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't bother me.
No, it doesn't bother me either.
It's like, before that, what were they doing? How were they telling their friends, like, look at my amazing life? It's okay.
Yeah. Which is...
It's an internal bragging system that is inherent. You can't escape it.
All right. Okay.
I think it's okay.
You feel validated by the fact that you put it out there and people are saying, oh, I've seen it.
Yeah. Or like, look, I took my family to Australia. Here's a photo in front of a waterfall.
The trips is another story altogether. Because the trips there, somebody has to stop it. We don't want to see every moment of your effing trip.
120 picture albums are not needed.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. No, seriously, not needed.
But you get to avoid it. You can not see it.
I've seen people in a Kenya safari. They're showing you the same thing. So it's like, see this picture. It's the same thing. Then the next picture, same thing. The 7 pictures, the same. The truck has moved. The Jeep has moved 5 feet. Next picture, 5 feet. Next picture. Oh, man.
Okay. All right. This is from Pallavi Kulkarni. How do you like your popcorn besides cheap?
Popcorn?
Yes.
Besides cheap.
Yes.
Yeah,
I love popcorn. I have a problem with popcorn here. And please, I talk to Inox and all these people out there when we watch movies. They have to learn that it has to be fresh all the time. And there are times that it's almost like they got to get rid of the old stuff.
Yeah.
So, it's like giving the old actor one last chance. So that's it. And that happens because you don't sort of eat it in front of them sometimes. You take it back there and it's too late.
What kind of flavors do you pick when you go to the theatre?
My daughter, I mostly watch movies only with my 10-year-old daughter Maya now. And so that's what I'm watching. Planet of the Apes was my only fun moment this year. So she likes caramel. So if I'm on a budget, then I just share, but I don't really like it. So if I feel like spending more money, then I buy the old-fashioned salty one.
Yeah,
we were raised like bagpiper in whiskey.
With the plastic jar. What was that? The chipmunk popcorn.
We were raised with just that one option. So it's just there very strongly. Yeah. But I love popcorn. It takes 24 hours to digest, by the way.
I really like have you seen the specialty popcorn stores? That one on Nepean Road? Wow, popcorn.
But how does that work?
It's really good.
Gourmet ones, right?
But
They're
do they
amazing.
sell?
Yeah, they're so
No, I've never seen anyone in there. I've seen one person.
It's a Scootsie place. I get from there probably.
If you're throwing a party.
But when you say Scootsie, how do they keep it fresh for me in that 5-7 minute drive?
It comes in it comes in like a sealed pack
Seal
kind of
pack.
this.
Like
It's
a
good enough?
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I'm going to do it today.
Yeah, they have some good flavors.
They have some great
Scootsie, you rock.
It's a nice flavor.
So wow popcorn particularly, I quite like.
But I think the ideal movie theatre combination is caramel and cheese. Yeah. So then you get salt and sweet.
The cheese is great, but after 5 bites of the cheese, after 5-6 bites of the cheese, it's a little bit too much, I feel.
That's why you got to mix it with the caramel.
My problem is the kind of cheese that sticks to your hand.
Yeah.
And in your teeth.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, orange teeth.
I always get lucky after I eat popcorn. No, as in Lucky is my dog's name and he licks my face. Okay, next.
Why do Indians get offended so easily these days, that Pandit? Not these days, that Pandit.
It's forever.
People have always, we are the...
I think 1.3 billion people, so you don't need to have many idiots. No?
Yeah.
Just think of the fact that all the world is filled with idiots.
Actually,
but we
you're
have a
right.
bigger pool.
No, but
Do you think
everybody's offended by something, right?
Yeah.
Everybody gets a little offended by...
Do you think it's more vocal now because people all have a platform now?
That's
Everybody has Twitter and Facebook to complain.
Right.
Yeah, but also...
Earlier you didn't hear everybody's offense.
Well, earlier you'd hear your family people and you'd hear your friends and
Also-
we've always been a complainer.
As a student of psychology, and although I never passed it, I have to look at it from a point of view that, very often angst inside you is for other reasons. So it very often is like there's a catalyst, and there are other, you're angry with your wife, let's say.
Correct.
And that stays with you for the whole day.
Yeah.
And then it comes out in something else. You decide to make a point about somebody crossing the road who misbehaved or whatever.
Correct.
Very often I think our outlets are different from the actual truth of what made you irritated.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
For example, I can't bear people with no hair on their head. Amit, I'm just kidding.
I can't help you, man.
I think the issue is
But the
obviously...
day isn't far. The day isn't far.
The issue is obviously you can't keep complaining about your wife, so you might as well complain about the government because they're not going to actively listen to you anyway.
Look at the stereotype story of the man who goes and beats his wife at home. Okay, because the boss puts him down every
Correct.
day.
Yeah.
This is a story all across the world. There's no connection, but it always happens like that. The outlet is so different from the actual thing. And with the internet, it's the same thing. You decide to be part of some movement because your anger is now coming out, but maybe the anger is from somewhere else.
Correct.
Right. Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
I think we've lost all our listeners with this stupid.
Okay, so then
But
let's...
psychology is great psychology.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, that's all we got.
All right.
Since we lost all of them, we might as well end it,
Why are
right?
you guys saying all right every 5 minutes? Like Indians don't know
I
English.
feel like it's a thing to do.
I don't know anything more than all right.
It's the
Who
new
said
like.
all right?
I don't know. This is my Indian who has no English voice. I always talk like this when I do it.
Okay. All right.
All right.
I guess I just say all right.
All right.
Okay, catch us on any of the podcasting apps, please. We beg you. We need you. If you have any questions, write to us online, and you can mail us as well. We will answer. We have a doctor in the house called me.
And that's what Cyrus says.
Excuse me, भैया. Excuse me.
बोलिए मैडम.
मेन्यू में क्या है?
मेन्यू में सीन अनसीन है, पॉडकास्ट है, ऑन कोर्स है, साइरस सेज है, मेड इन इंडिया, रीडिस्कवरी प्रोजेक्ट, एम्पावरिंग सीरीज, सेक्स वेक्स है, IVM लाइक्स है, सिंप्लीफाइड है, कीपिंग इट क्वियर है, थिंग्स एंड डेस्टिनेशंस है, माय नेबर जकरबर्ग है और द फैन गराज है. आपको क्या चाहिए?
एक बार रिपीट कर देंगे क्या?
रिपीट नहीं करता हम. आप जाओ IVMpodcast.com पे और सुनो ये सब, या फिर डाउनलोड करो उनका ऐप. सब आपकी उंगलियों पे.